Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the fifth day of the webinar series on guidelines document for health system response for persons with disabilities and functional impairment during the pandemic, that is COVID 19. So, today we will be dealing with the topic preserving and maintaining mental health for healthcare workers, persons with disabilities, and their caregivers. As I always start the presentation in the previous sessions also, this one observation of Amartya Sen is very significant. Disabled people are not only the most deprived human beings in the developing world, they also are the most neglected. So it is a sum total of the entire scenario which is being faced by persons with disabilities, especially in this corona scenario. Coming to the details of our current topic, preserving the mental health of healthcare workers, persons with disabilities, and their caregivers. We all know there is no health without mental health, and even as per the WHO definition of health, health is not just a mere state of absence of any disease. Instead, it is of physical, mental, and social well-being. So, health without mental health is incomplete. And unusual and difficult situations can lead to mental distress in any person. We are all familiar with that. In the given corona pandemic scenario, even persons otherwise with no other mental illness or any other issues are going through a phase of uncertainty, anxiety, tension, and stress. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. We don't know whether our job is secure tomorrow. We don't know what is going to be the fate of our children tomorrow. What would be their education like? What would be our means of living tomorrow? So, lot of stress and tension is there with regard to this corona event. So, this is an unusually difficult situation. Hence, those with pre-existing mental health issues are especially vulnerable. This is a very important aspect because we know that under the RPWD Act, there is the persons with mental illness as well as other neurodevelopmental disabilities. So, any pre-existing mental health issues will naturally, because of this given scenario, gets exacerbated. So, major psychiatric illnesses like schizophrenia, persons with bipolar affective disorder, and all tend to worsen this time. And also other set of disabilities which is under the RPWD Act, like the neurodevelopmental disabilities, children with autism spectrum disorders, mental retardation, and other related conditions also tend to get the symptoms exacerbated in the given scenario due to multiple reasons. One, the stress, the anxiety, the uncertainty related, then due to the lack of services. We'll come to that in detail. The current pandemic is especially unusual because it involves lockdown, staying at home, etc., with issues like lack of transport, access to healthcare, essential medicines for psychiatric illness, etc. So this further complicates the issue. It's not just that we are exposed to the pandemic, but also the measures taken by the governments to contain the spread of the illness. That it's also very much distressing because we are going through a phase where we are under lockdown. We are forced to stay at our homes. Social distance is mandatory. These scenario were unheard of in the past. So such situations naturally leads to a lot of mental health issues, which again not only leading to the psychological distress, but also due to the lack of transportation and the hindrance in the access. The services are being curtailed. Many services are not available simply because of this preventive measures like the lockdown and the transportation and access restrictions. So naturally, persons, for example, with mental illness on regular medication, say for a schizophrenic, on a regular antipsychotic, if he is not receiving the medicines for the past many weeks, that itself can be the reason for an exacerbation of his symptoms, and he can go in for a florid psychotic condition again. There can be a relapse. Similarly, a bipolar affective disorder patient, if he or she is on a mood stabilizer and if he is not taking that medicine for quite some time, naturally there is high possibility for a relapse. So these all conditions further worsens the mental health scenario in the given pandemic situation. It could lead to exacerbation of symptoms. Mental issues can be due to pre-existing issues or due to the pandemic itself. As I said, any exacerbation can lead to the relapse of the symptoms, and also because of the stress and strain associated with the given situation, people can manifest as a mental illness, because we know mental illness is multifactorial. There can be genetic predisposition, and when other biopsychosocial aspects contribute to the person with already pre-existing genetic vulnerability, he can go in for a full-blown disease. So this given situation also exacerbates such conditions, so that more of mental health issues get surfaced because of the current scenario. In addition, alarming new updates about the evolving pandemic creates a climate of pervasive fear and uncertainty. Among those with mental health issues, fear, actual bereavement, life-threatening circumstances, panic, separation from family, low income, etc., can all lead to new symptoms or exacerbate the old ones. It's quite natural. And reduced availability of essential medicines, which I explained previously, may lead to relapse. This is one major situation which majority of the people with mental illness are facing now, because there is no steady supply of medicines, or many of them, because they don't stock their medicines for quite some time, for weeks or months together. In such situation, they are not able to have their regular dose of medicines, which has led on to a relapse or a florid manifestation, re-emergence of their psychiatric issues, especially those persons with severe psychiatric illness like schizophrenia and bipolar affective disorder. Similarly, children who on medication like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder, mental retardation with other comorbidities, those who are all on medication are not receiving the medicines properly, which is leading to relapse. In addition to the alarming new updates about the evolving pandemic create a climate of pervasive fear and uncertainty. As I told, even a person's sound of mind, otherwise leading a very healthy mental life, even such people are uncertain regarding their future. What will happen to our future, my job security, and all such things. So a lot of issues are there just related to the fear and uncertainty. Among those with mental health issues, I think this I have already mentioned. Reduced availability of essential medicine, as I said, that's another major problem. And inadequate support and non-availability of drugs of abuse may lead to withdrawal symptoms. This is another major component, especially in Kerala and all. We have heard a lot of news related to this. Once, because of the lockdown, alcohol was not available, and many people were having this withdrawal symptom, and even the government decided to have a policy wherein a doctor can prescribe alcohol as a medicine, even for persons who are addicted to alcohol, and also the non-availability of other drugs of abuse. So this is a major issue which is going unnoticed, but persons who are addicted or who are regularly using such drugs of abuse are having a lot of mental health issues, including the withdrawal symptoms, which have implication on both their physical domain as well as their mental domain. And due to stress, other neuropsychiatric problems such as epileptic seizures may arise. There are no much studies specifically related to this, but we can certainly assume that because of this given scenario, such neuropsychiatric problems will also be definitely in the rise. Then there is also the stigma of mental illness for both the person and the caregiver. The person with mental illness becomes a corona positive, means then the stigma increases manifold. Even now, the stigma is a fact. We know that persons with mental illness are seen by the society as a person who is not wholly included, or who's been fully approved by the society. So the stigma definitely persists there. And if such a person is becoming corona positive, means then again the stigma naturally increases manifold. Caregivers of such persons also face increased responsibility and are therefore more likely to develop psychological symptoms. Again, a point which is to be noted. The caregivers of such persons, because they are dealing with person with mental illness or other mental retardation or related issues, then definitely they are under stress of this thing. and that itself lead to mental health problems of the caregivers. Even they are more likely to develop psychological symptoms. As such, persons with psychological disabilities are perhaps the most invisible and therefore the most vulnerable during COVID-19. This statement by ICMR is significant because if we take the group which is being most affected by the, or who have become the most vulnerable of the pandemic, then definitely it is the persons with psychosocial disabilities. So focused attention need to be bestowed in this domain for the betterment of their condition. They are also at risk of abandonment, homelessness, hunger, and sheer starvation and violence. Even we know a person who is labeled as having a major psychiatric illness, if he is diagnosed of having a corona infection, then definitely he will be just made an outcast. If not in many societies, in majority of the society, still such possibility exists. So he can simply be a homeless person who is just starving to death. Though it is a far-fetched statement, I'm not mentioning that it is seen in majority of the instances, but still there are possibility to this extent, and that this aspect is which one is being highlighted by the ICMR. And coming to the stress faced by healthcare workers in pandemic, we know the healthcare workers are the frontline warriors with regard to the corona pandemic. We know that police personnel, similarly, healthcare workers, including doctors, paramedical staff, the rehabilitation professionals, they are all the frontline workers in the fight against the corona, and they themselves, especially the healthcare workers, are stressed to a great extent. The reasons I will come to it. They are under unprecedented stress due to one, inadequate resources. We know every day the number of persons even getting being infected by the coronavirus is increasing, which leads to, if, say for example, if a doctor and a nurse or related paramedical staff is diagnosed of having a COVID infection, then the entire set of health professionals are kept under quarantine. So there is the loss of manpower with regard to that. Similarly, even otherwise, the number of healthcare professionals are less. So, so there is unprecedented stress just because of the inadequate resources. We know the manpower is very less. Then prolonged duty hours. That leads to a lot of draining of their energy, both the physical energy as well as their emotional well-being. It is they are just being burdened. A sort of burnout appears, and they tend to get stressed much more easily. Then there is inadequate food, liquid, and rest. Even toileting can be a problem in PPE kit. Just imagine the scenario. A few friends of mine, doctors, have mentioned this thing in person, that once you just wear in this PPE kit with the entire armamentarium of the PPE kit, it is just like wearing some space suit, wherein it is not that easy for you. Even if you want to go to the toilet, it is difficult for you. So people have to withstand even such urges. That is a very practical thing. So 6 to 8 hours of continuous duty, say take the case of a 50-year doctor or any person health care professional with diabetes. So definitely will be having a tendency to urinate frequently. Even now, this is the rainy season in Kerala and all. So that again just leads to the urge for urination. These are very simple, practical things, but which contributes a lot to the stress. So once in the PPE kit, one till you are out of the PPE kit, you even adequate food intake or fluid intake even may get disturbed, which all can lead on to the stress. So it's a very simple thing, but in a practical aspect, these are all factors which are leading to stress. But I'm not telling that all such facilities should be withdrawn, but these are the aspects which we should be aware of. Then staying away from their families. We know that many of the healthcare workers, frontline healthcare workers, they are just staying near to the hospital in which they are working, so that they are not contaminating their near and dear one. And fear of carrying infection to near and dear ones, etc., cause severe psychological distress. Because we know that once we are in this, maybe uh, there is possibility, because our risk for contamination increases manifold, and our chance for transmitting the issue can also increase. So that sort of stress and strain can also lead to mental health issues of the persons. Then healthcare workers also face stigma from their communities. This has been frequently reported in the press. A lot of media report was there, even in Delhi and all. Doctors working in AIMS, they were asked to quit the rented houses in which they were staying, only because they were the frontline warriors in the fight against corona, which should never have happened at all. So, but such things, unfortunately, at least are happening elsewhere, if not commonly or frequently, still it's happening. Coming to the common symptoms of mental stress in the pandemic: difficulty in comprehending what is happening, anxiety, uncertainty, and fear about the future, extreme anger or mood swings, grief and mourning over the past, irritability and short temper, sleep disturbances, changes in appetite, lack of daily routine, difficulty in comprehending what is happening, anxiety, uncertainty, and fear about the future, extreme anger or mood swing, grief and mourning over the past, irritability and short temper, sleep, sorry, I am withdrawal from a daily responsibility, depressive cognitions, loneliness, variation in consuming food and meals, preoccupation and worries about falling ill, inability to cope, that is just giving up, inability to function or carry out routine responsibilities or activities of daily life. Then symptoms unique to persons already suffering from disability due to mental illness and their caregivers. Thoughts of being a burden, being of no use to anyone, being left out. This thought of being a burden, especially we had discussed in detail regarding this while we were dealing with the section on the caregiver stress, the last topic which we discussed yesterday. So I'm not delving into the details of that. Then fear about their caregiver falling sick, abandonment, loneliness, because many a time for a person with a disability, or especially for a person with psychiatric illness or other mentally challenged persons and all, the first degree relatives alone would be their caregivers who are very responsible towards the person with disability. Suppose that single caregiver is getting sick, what will be the plight of this person with disability, this mentally ill patient? So such sort of concerns and fear usually naturally arises in the persons with disabilities, and especially persons with mental illness. Then fear that they may be marginalized or not given essential news or supplies, worries about their financial security. As I said yesterday, this is a vicious cycle. The financial security many a time is not being addressed, because majority of the persons with disability, if not majority, a sizable population of the persons with disability belong to the low socioeconomic status. Why? Because they are persons with disabilities, they are not integrated fully into the society. There is no full inclusion or equality, even though that is what we are envisaging, still it is not a reality. So they tend to get marginalized, so their scope for livelihood decreases. So as a vicious cycle, they tend to be pushed into the low socioeconomic strata. This low socioeconomic strata itself leads to such a vicious cycle wherein they get marginalized. So worries about their jobs, then worries about their financial security arises in such a manner, and also worry about their job security when things starts to resume. That is also one thing which people are worried about, especially persons with disabilities, because in the post corona scenario also, once this pandemic is getting subsided, even then our financial resources, our all such resources will be constrained. So even the governments and other agencies would be in a stress to curtail the expenditure. So lot of slashing off will definitely happen, and this slashing of the persons who will be most affected again would be the persons who are marginalized, who are less productive compared to the other the so-called normal population. So in such scenario, again, that even the post-COVID scenario itself will be stressful for persons with disabilities in that regard. acute symptoms of their illness, then symptoms of withdrawal from drugs of abuse, including tobacco, alcohol, and other hard drugs, which I just mentioned previously. This is another aspect which is being which is not being discussed, but persons who are having such sort of issues, who are addicted to substances, are finding it a very difficult time to stride forward. Then increased risk of violence both to and from persons with mental illness. So this is also important on either ways. uh, the risk of violence to the persons with mental illness also increases, and also because of the exacerbation of symptoms, because of the reasons which I had mentioned earlier, they tend to go into relapse. They can go in for full blown diseases. Their psychopathology can increase, and which in turn may lead them being more violent. Healthcare. Okay, then some other general intervention measures which we can think of is that mental health education for the general population through mass media. This aspect of mental health education need to be highlighted, because as of now, even otherwise in the pre-corona period as well, the mental health education was not that effective or not up to the required requirements. So definitely there was a huge lacunae in the area of mental health education of the general public, general population, which led to this sort of stigmatization and marginalization of persons with mental illness. So a specific effort need to be taken by the government authorities to give mental health education through mass media to the general population, especially in this period of corona pandemic, so that people become more aware of the condition, and they tend to have an inclusive approach towards persons with mental illness. Then establishment of psychological crisis interventions for the high risk population, such as healthcare workers, PWDs, and their caregivers. This is one another aspect which the governments need to bestow their attention upon, because psychological crisis intervention is a requirement, is the need of the hour, especially to high risk population, as mentioned previously, healthcare workers. They themselves are in a lot of stress. They are in a state of a burnout, so their productivity is substantially being affected, which in turn will affect our fight against this corona. So specific professional help measures, psychological support measures for healthcare workers and also the caregivers of persons with disabilities, because they are another group set of people who are just facing a burnout because of the psychological stress. So they need professional psychological crisis intervention measures, and governments has to bestow specific attention in this regard. Then regular, friendly, and dependable helplines with a good control room with ready answers for their frequently asked questions. And in this regard, Government of India, Department of Disability Affairs is coming up with a huge initiative to address all the psychological concerns related to corona and even otherwise for persons with disabilities, as well as for the general public with regard to all their psychological distress. It's a 24 into 7 mental health helpline service which will be made accessible to all Indians across the country, and it is a huge initiative taken up by the Department of DEPWD, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment of the Government of India. And I'm just sharing this information, and within few days, most probably, this huge initiative will be inaugurated formally. And another aspect is regular, friendly, and dependent that I told, and integration of mental health services, both outpatient and emergency, seamlessly into the COVID-19 services, so that both the distressed and the ill persons can access the healthcare at one stop. Again, another major suggestion or the major direction from the ICMR, which is to be taken seriously by the governmental authorities. There should be an integration of mental health services, both outpatient as well as emergency services, which is directly integrated into the COVID-19 services. This element has not been dealt in detail by governments to that extent, at least till now. This is something very important, this integration into the main COVID-19 strategies itself regarding the mental health aspects. Specific counseling services to be provided by the clinical psychologists and psychiatric social workers of the mental health care institutions and departments. This point I just mentioned because that is a need of the hour. So this sort of mental health interventions and psychological counseling, especially to the frontline warriors in the field of the fight against corona, that has to be made an integral part of the uh, activity against COVID itself. And regular debriefing of frontline healthcare workers, both to diffuse tension as well as to develop effective strategies. Coming to the individual coping strategies, the guidelines as per the guidance document of ICMR, the following points are specifically mentioned as the individual coping strategies with regard to the psychological issues in the corona pandemic era. So coming to the individual coping strategies, adopt healthy coping strategies, play games involving brain teasers, use of cognitive analytical abilities, solve puzzles, write something or learn something new, cooking, art, music, whichever is your domain of interest. You select such domains of interest and adopt healthy coping strategies wherein you are actively involved in such activities, be it playing games even, which involve brain teaser sort of activities. PWDs and the caregivers need a reassurance that most of the issues they are experiencing are not their exclusive issues. It is being experienced by majority of the population, and these are all normal reactions to such an abnormal stress which we are all facing now. They should be provided with appropriate information and clarification about various mis and false messages that I've mentioned. Then guidance about maintaining a routine, physical and psychological engagements, healthy diet, mental stimulation through home-based activities with appropriate safety precautions is essential. So even for persons with disabilities, their caregivers and each one of us, it is always good to have a timetable. Even if we are at home, we need to adhere to good hygiene practices. We should have adequate, proper, balanced diet. We should have a timetable and proper timing for our sleep. So for relaxation, to vent out the stress, for exercise, meditation, yoga, all such things need to be done. So such guidance we need to give to the persons with disabilities and persons with the mental illness also, to cope up with this stress in a fruitful manner. Brief activities for maintaining mental equilibrium and supportive therapy can be done for those having severe psychological distress. So here supportive therapy and all is important, especially for such persons who are in need of, especially for those having major psychological issues, or who are having diagnosed of a mental illness previously, who are having exacerbation of such conditions and all. Definitely supportive therapy to deal their psychological distress will go a long way in helping them. To maintain mental equilibrium, the coping strategies which have been listed previously should be followed. That we have already discussed, so I'm not going into the detail. So with that, we come to an end of the today's presentation, which was based on the ICMR guidance document.